Hey, it's Greg Otten here with MaritimeGarden.com. I'm going to walk you around the garden today and just give you a little update on the different perennials in here and maybe a couple other things as I'm going along. But just to give you a sense of where I am here on May 24th, 2018 in Zone 6A in my part of the world, coastal Nova Scotia, Canada. All right? And you can compare notes. I'll assure you I've got healthy soil and everything's doing really great. And you can just compare notes to see where you are. And I know this is the sort of thing gardeners want to know. How big is this? How big is that? Where's this? Where's that? So that's why I'm doing this, so you can compare notes and get a sense of how your stuff's coming along. So have a watch. All right, these are strawberries. That's a parsnip over there, just a parsnip seed that blew into my strawberry garden. So you can tell my strawberries aren't going crazy right yet. They're just starting to come in, to tell you the truth. It's just been very cold here. I mean, it's getting down to 5 degrees Celsius every night. Still having frost warnings. I think tonight it's supposed to get down to 3 degrees Celsius, which is again a frost warning type night. I bought some transplants to put in various parts of my garden. I can't put them in the night because it's just too cold. And this is May 24th, so I mean, what's going on? But that's typical of this part of the world because we've got that Atlantic Ocean effect. Now here's the rhubarb, doing great. Ready to harvest, in fact. So these rhubarb were planted in 2015. And really this is the first year they've really come in strong and heavy. So you know, if you've bought rhubarb, or if you've gotten the roots from somebody else and you put them in, be patient. It takes a couple of years. I mulch these every year with just seaweed or hay or whatever. But this year they've come in really. I mean, these are 3 times the size they were last year. So rhubarb doing great. Just in the event that people are curious, this is a garden bed where I sowed a number of seeds in the dead of winter in March under a dome, and most of what's growing here is dill, but there is kale. I'm going to zoom in there. It's nice. That's a good sized looking kale for this time of year. I mean, anyone that's direct sowed their kale don't have kale like that. But this bed was attacked by flea beetles, and also just only the kale down the center. So I had a plastic dome like that. Right, I had a plastic dome over this garden, and really the kale, it was just the kale that was sowed in the middle of the bed that germinated in March and did okay. All the other kale didn't grow that well, and as soon as it got warm outside, it was attacked by flea beetles. So I'm not a perennial, but I just thought you'd be interested. You know, there are some half-decent kale. I think in a week or two I'll be able to start harvesting from this plant. This is a wild kale variety that I got from Vessie's Seed. I think it's actually called Wild Mix or something like that. And all the dill, I was growing squash here last year, like zucchini, and there was just dill growing here, and the dill went to seed. And generally speaking, I just let dill go and let it seed wherever it wants, and I get lots of dill. I reseeded around middle or late June, just so I can have even more for the fall for pickling and stuff like that. But you know, in a few weeks, this dill will be big enough to start putting on my you know, barbecued salmon and stuff like that. This bed here had kohlrabi in it last year, and I got an area in my strawberry garden where it's just become overrun with weeds. My strawberry garden borders onto the wild forest, and all these weeds seem to work in there. So I decided to move some of the strawberries about a month ago and put them in this garden, which is, you know, a good distance from the actual forest. The forest is over there, just to see how it would do. So they're not going to produce much this spring, but maybe these are day neutral strawberries, so I should get a crop in October. But just to zoom in here, I mean, they're coming in, right? You can see the all the greenery there is strawberries. They're coming in. I mean, I just pulled them out of the ground, stuck them in the ground, pulled them out of the ground somewhere else, and stuck them in the ground here, and they're all coming in. And actually, in between the rows of strawberries, I think I planted asparagus. I think it was asparagus, because this is going to be a perennial bed for a while, right? So why not put asparagus in there? Here's a beautiful bed of garlic. I would say this garlic is eyeballing it about 14 inches high at the tip. Some might even be 16 inches high. So that's garlic I planted last November. That's coming in nice and strong. This is my own saved seeds, and they're doing great. Every other year I've planted my garden in with other things, and this year I decided to just plant my garden densely in single beds. Just because I don't know, just because I decided to do that this year, just for fun. My other garlic is on a similar trajectory, right? There's some garlic there. Now my that's asparagus there. My asparagus garden was not impressive this year. I have to say, it got attacked by snails, and I wasn't really aware of it till quite late in the game. So I did throw down some slug bait, the slug bait that I get from Safer's Gardening Products. Check the description box for a coupon code for that. And that seems to have got them under control. So I had a lot of asparagus when they were coming in. They just didn't look right, and they looked all funny. It was because slugs were attacking them. They're mercilessly attacking them. But now I'm getting some half-decent spikes, but there's so few, I think I should harvest them. I think I have to leave them alone. Right there's a nice asparagus spike there. There's another one right there. There's another one right there, right? So I mean, they're coming in. Zoom in a bit there, right? They look pretty good, but I've lost. The slugs have taken whatever amount I would have eaten. Slugs have taken 50% already. Right? It doesn't take much. You know, they attack them when they're at their youngest, at their smallest, at their most vulnerable, and then there isn't much left for you because they just weaken the whole shoot. Now I got a good number here, but I think it's going to be another year before I get a decent harvest out of this garden. So this is going on year 3 or 4 for trying to get asparagus going. I mean, they're growing, right? That one's nice and tall, but you know, when you've got serious slugs, it's can be touch and go. Look at this magnificent lovage plant. This is something you buy at a garden center, and you get it for $2, and you put it in the ground, and you get celery for the rest of your life. So I mean, the stalks are about 2 feet high now, late May. Actually, I just put some of this in my supper tonight. I made a rice dish, like a plov, if you know what plov is. Delicious garlicky rice dish. And one piece like this is, whether you're making a pot of spaghetti or a stew or plov or a pilaf or whatever, some large pot, right? One piece like this is all you need to get a really strong herby green celery flavor. It's a very strong plant. So you buy one plant, $2.99. I bought this as a transplant from a hardware store 3 years ago, and the thing has doubled in size every year. From what I've read, they get up to 6 feet high. If you live in a northern zone where celery doesn't grow very well, if you don't get, you know, celery to grow well needs heat in the summer, and where I live, there's not a lot of heat in the summer. We have some hot days, but it's not like other parts. I mean, it's zone 6A, but that doesn't mean anything. I know people in zone 5A, they get way more heat in the summer than here. This is a cool zone. Your zone just speaks to how cold it gets in the winter. It doesn't speak to how many warm days you have in summer. I can't hammer that in enough. So I'm in zone 6A, but people living in Toronto, where it's zone 5A or B, have way more hot days than I have here. And so this is the solution to your celery problem. You like celery, you like the flavor of it, you buy the transplant, you stick it in the ground, just get, and I didn't even I didn't even stick it in the proper garden bed. I stuck it in my walking trail. And it's doubled in size every year, and it's big and it's strong and it's an intense celery flavor. So totally worth your while. And this is probably, I'd say this is 3 feet high right now, April 24th. Another perennial, apple tree. So the leaves are coming in. I'd say the leaves are about 1 inch long. Leaves are open and they're about 1 inch long, and I can see flower buds. Let's see if I can zoom you in here. Right, so leaves are about 1 inch long, and I've got flower buds there. Curious to know how other people's apple trees are doing. Another perennial. I don't know if you can see this. I'll zoom in here a bit. See that little green tuft there? That is Sunchoke, or Jerusalem artichoke. They're popping up now through this mulch. So you can see there's one right there. Right there, that little bit of that green right there. Jerusalem artichoke, or sunchoke. So a sunchoke is a root. It's like a daisy that when they grow, they look like giant daisies that are 4 feet high. And what they do is they put a really large potato-like root in the ground. The root actually looks like ginger root, if I were to describe it. It doesn't taste like ginger root, and it doesn't taste like potatoes. It's got its own unique taste. They're a very flavorful root. Some people say they're not some people say they are. They're an invasive plant, so wherever you plant them, you got to dig them up every year. Otherwise, they'll just take over the whole area. But their root is very good eating root, and very tasty. So I mean, look how high my garlic are. My garlic, this particular bed, are about 1 foot high. It's a different variety than the other place where they're 16 inches high. So the garlic are about 1 foot high here, and the sunchokes are just starting to push through the mulch, which is about 3 inches thick. So if you don't have sunchokes, find a source of them and plant them next fall. Or if you have a friend that grows them, get a few broken off and plant them next fall. So last fall I dug all my sunchokes out here and harvested about, I don't know, 80%, and then planted one every 6 inches all along this perimeter. And they're all coming up. So I might have had like a pound of sunchokes last year, and by the fall I probably had 5 pounds of sunchokes. And the fall of this year, then you harvest them when the frost starts to arrive in the fall, I'll probably have 5 pounds or something like that of sunchokes, right? They really seem to multiply, and they're very tasty, although they do give you, to be honest, a bit of gas. But the flavor, they're fantastic, and they're really hardy plant. I think they're hardy to zone 3. So stick them in the ground and forget about them. If you got nice healthy soil, they'll just get bigger and more productive every year. I'm really happy with my sunchokes, and I got the idea for sunchokes from Patrick Dolan of 1 Yard Revolution, a great YouTube channel, one of the only YouTube channels on gardening I watch regularly, in fact. Alright, here's a blueberry bush, and starting to leaf out a little bit. Zoom in a bit here. You can see the leaves. Right, it's coming in okay. But it's interesting to see this bush in the back behind. We see all the greenery. That's a cherry tree, very young at this stage. Now I always plant my bushes in front of my trees, right? So you look over here. I got an apple tree, and see, I've got my berry bushes sort of in front of the tree, right? Because this direction. Zoom out a bit here. This direction where I am standing is south. So not such a big deal having a tree in your garden as long as you put things you want in front of them. And yes, I've got cold frames behind my trees, but they're still very young. And when the cold frames are doing their work, the trees have no leaves anyway, so everything gets along just fine. A little update on the Chinese garlic. I did a video where I planted Chinese garlic, and you can see none of them are growing. And over here, there's the store-bought Canadian sourced garlic that are growing. The Chinese garlic did root and did sprout in the fall, and this spring they did poke up a bit, but they were yellowed and they didn't look very good. And when I examined the roots, there was, I think, onion maggots in them. And what I think went on, so I mean, everybody's saying that they're bleached and they're steamed and all these other things. I mean, that's just clearly not true, because they sprouted and they grew and everything. Honestly, I just don't think that particular variety of garlic, which is a soft neck garlic, is not suited to a freezing cold Canadian winter. I think the winter weakened them, the coldness and all that sort of stuff, the damp, and also the conditions here where I live is we get we'll get days in the winter where it's raining really hard, and then it'll be minus 20 for the next, it'll get up to like 5 degrees Celsius and rain like crazy, and all the snow will melt, and then it'll drop down to minus 15 Celsius for a week or two. And I just don't think, only the hardiest varieties can take that sort of thing. So I think the plants were just weakened. But certainly all the claims of them being treated with this, that, and the other thing, whether or not that's true, it did not affect their viability. They all sprouted, they all rooted, they were all growing. I just don't think they could take the winter. So anyway, I just pulled them out because they weren't going to amount to anything. That's the sort of decisions you make when you're keeping a garden. If things don't look good, just pull it out and put something else in right away. Don't sit there and watch it become nothing. Right? Use your intuition. If it doesn't look good, if it doesn't look strong and healthy, get it out of there and put something else in. So I pulled them out and put potatoes in here. I had this particular bed, in fact, I had potatoes last year, and there was a bit of a potato scab issue. So I planted russet or Burbank russet potatoes that I got from Vessi Seeds that are supposed to be scab resistant. I decided, why not do the experiment? Put the scab resistant potatoes in the bed where the scab was, and let's just see how scab resistant they are. And it's kind of not fair in a sense, because I know there's the potato scab fungus in this bed, but man, if they come out okay, then we know that they're the greatest thing ever if you've got that problem. So we'll see how that works out. I just planted them and put a good mulch over them. This is not a perennial here. This is a parsnip that had a crown that I would say was almost 4 or 5 inches in diameter. But anyway, just in the case that someone's left a parsnip over winter to go to seed the following year, that's how high mine is. I'd say it's 16 inches high at the tip. Actually, it needs to be helped a bit here. There, bent a bit. Anyway, so that's a parsnip that was left over winter, and that's about 16 inches high, give or take. Coming in very strong. I had a couple others in different locations in the garden that I let go to seed. This is the biggest of them all, I believe. Alright, so that's just a quick walk around. Give you a sense of how things are growing, in particular the perennials, just so you can gauge where you are, whether you're in zone 6A or zone 5 or whatever, just to give you a sense of how things are coming along here, and compare that to how things are coming along where you are. So I hope that was useful, gave you some good information to use to gauge where your garden is. And if you enjoy that, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.